Come on in. Come on in tonight. I said I was not going to talk about this, but I must talk about this tonight. Share it with your followers. Hello. Good evening, everyone. Share this with your followers. I said I was not going to talk about it, but I'm up to my head in disgust with this topic. Come on in. And I'm not going to make this long because I do have my Tuesday morning prayer call in the morning. So I'm going to just hit on this really quick because I'm hoping that some of the ignorant statements that I'm reading are because people just don't know. I'm going to pray and hope that the ignorance that I'm seeing on social media, and literally for the last 2 days, I have just been unfollowing and unfriending people because I just cannot be friends and follow people that have this type of thinking. So go on in. Yes, prayer is in the morning, and I'm going between Periscope and Facebook Live, but go on and share this with your followers. Share it. Anyway, for those that do not know, and I'm sure there aren't many that do not know, there was a docuseries with R. Kelly that aired this weekend called Surviving R. Kelly. Now, anybody who knows me knows I have a background in psychology. So I may see this through a lens that other people may not be able to see through because of education. When I look at this docuseries, and just so we know, I'm getting ready to give some spoilers if you have not saw the docuseries. We're dealing with a situation where a man has preyed on women. We'll start with the 14-year-old who he peed in her mouth. Before we go any further, a 14-year-old who was the niece of his business, a girl that he did business with, Sparkle, he peed inside of her mouth. In addition to that, you have young ladies who he has preyed on. You know, they say allegedly, but if you have any sense and you hear these women talk, and if you have ever yourself been abused by someone, you know they're not lying. Especially when the girl goes into the old house where he was abusing them and she breaks down and is triggered. You can't fake that type of trigger with that level of emotion. But you know, what the series basically shows is that he's preyed on young ladies and caused them to, disconnect from their families and become a part of his sex cult or whatever. Now, I wasn't aware of this because I don't really keep up with, the R&B world and, what's going on, etc. So I didn't really know that this was going on, but this has been going on for some time. Actually, the docuseries shows one of the girl's mothers refusing to allow her daughter to stay in that, and flying from her hometown to California and searching for her daughter. And they literally show on this Lifetime series the daughter and mother being reunited. And this happened last year in 2018. And two of the parents on there are saying, even though the mother and daughter was reunited, the other girls that were in the house still have not been reunited with their family. One of the girls, I believe her name is Azriel, has not seen her parents, or her parents haven't seen her in 3 years. She got acquainted with him at 17, and then she's been with him for the last 3 years. Okay. So a lot of things that I'm hearing people say are, R. Kelly didn't rape anybody. R. Kelly, I'm watching it now. Why can't I do this tomorrow? Right. They're saying R. Kelly didn't rape anyone. They're saying that R. Kelly, those girls could have left at any time, that, they didn't have to. They knew what they were getting into. Okay, let me tell you, when you say things like that, I'm going to give you a little psychology 101. When you say things like that, you're operating in something called victim blaming. So when you say things like they knew what they were getting into, it's their fault, that's something called victim blaming. Okay. R. Kelly, of course, is a narcissist. If you do not know that, I'm letting you know he is a narcissist, and he has sociopathic tendencies. When you are under narcissistic abuse, when you are dealing with narcissistic abuse, the abuse, it'll be emotional, it'll be mental, physical, financial, spiritual, sexual. It's all abuse. And when you are under narcissistic abuse, there is a heavy mind control that you are unable to break free from. There's a heavy mind control. I can talk about this because of book knowledge, but I can also talk about this because I lived this at 17. So I know what they're talking about. Not to the extent, but I think any young lady that has ever been manipulated, controlled, or has gone through any of those kind of things with people that have been older than you, and people that, maybe promise certain things for career and things of that wise, you don't understand the mind control and manipulation that power can have on you. And if you have not lived that, glory to God. Glory to God that you have not lived that, but you can't blame people who have been a victim. When you look at the mind of a 17-year-old, even though there are some young ladies that are developed and, are, developed and maybe mature for their age, teenagers are impressionable. When you think about a 17-year-old, 4 years ago, they were 13. They are impressionable. And so I know when I think about myself, I had an issue saying no to people that were older than me, not being, sometimes when you're young and, you're popping off at the mouth and stuff. I'm not talking about that, but I'm talking about people that I respected in power. As a teenager, I had trouble being assertive and speaking up for myself. I even recall, honestly, and this is me just being transparent so you can understand, I even recall me talking and dating people I didn't even want to talk to and date because I wasn't very assertive and I didn't really like conflict. And so when you're dealing with that, and now we're not dealing with just a Joe Schmo, we're dealing with the king, someone who has been coined the king of R&B. You're dealing with, someone who has power. So now we're dealing with intimidation. A lot of those young ladies also said that they had a history of abuse. Some of them said that they had in their past, or they had been molested in their past, etc. So now they're reverting back to their previous molestation and abuse. And if you've ever been molested or abused and you're going through that, then you become paralyzed. You know, one of the girls said, I didn't want to sleep with him, but I didn't know how to say no. I believe that, because power can cause you to be intimidated. And this is not just happening with R. Kelly. You know, manipulation and manipulation and narcissistic abuse is not something that's just happening with these girls, but this is also happening in the church. I'm going to go there. I don't care. This is something that's even happening with the church. And so we have to get to the place. Oh yeah. Well, of course, that's a whole nother thing, as far as the musical aspect involved with it. But yes, there are definitely R. Kellys in the church as well. And so the issue is, and what's causing my annoyance is we have to stop blaming the young ladies, saying, oh, they knew what they were getting into. I'm sure none of them thought that they would be peeing in a bucket, asking for permission to use the bathroom, and him not responding for hours and then being forced to pee in a bucket. I'm sure none of them thought that the connection to this man would cause them to not eat for 3 days as a punishment, which most narcissists do. They operate in punishment, a punishment for not carrying out the behavior that they were told to carry out. I'm sure none of them thought, because this is what happens when you're dealing with a narcissist. What they do is they slowly come into your life. And when they come, they portray themselves as everything that you want, everything that you desire. They come with big promises. They come with big grand gestures. They come with all of these things, and they appear to be everything that you have been waiting on. And they sell you these dreams, and they make you think that that their connection to you is going to change your life. This is what narcissists do. And so there's this honeymoon stage that you're in with the narcissist, where everything is wonderful and you can't even see yourself, see your life outside of them. And you can't even see yourself, being without them. And then slowly, gradually, after they have made themselves the most important person and relationship in your life, they gradually, after they bait you, they begin to switch and change. Okay. And so this is where the abusiveness comes in. And this is why I'm explaining to you why they can't just leave. They can't just leave, because he's shown them, not only him, but every version of him, every narcissist, they show you the person that they can be. And that's who you're in love with. That's who you're emotionally connected to. It's not the person that they are, but it's the person that they've shown you and the person that they can be. And so they gradually begin to change. It's not an immediate change, but they test their boundaries. Well, what can I do? What can I get away with? So it may begin with something as small as, you don't do that right. We're talking about where the abuse comes in. You don't do that right. Now everything becomes a critique, and everything becomes criticism. And then all of a sudden it's outright abuse. You're stupid, you're dumb, you do nothing right. You're this, you're not that. You need me. You have to be codependent. You have to be dependent on me. You have to, all of these different things. They slowly do these things to you, and you can't say anything. Now you're in the phase of walking on eggshells. You're in the phase now where you're walking on eggshells because you don't want to make them upset. Because if you make them upset, it's going to cause abusive behavior. They're going to yell at you. They're going to, talk to you crazy. They're going to punish you. Well, how do they punish you? Punishments look like this. I'm not going to call you. I'm not going to, spend time with you. I'm going to withhold money from you if I'm supporting you financially. I'm going to, go ghost on you, and now you can't find me, and now you're going through emotional deprivation because I'm not emotionally giving you what you need to feel loved. All of these different things, you're trying to avoid that, so you're walking on eggshells with the person, and you're allowing them to continue to push their limits. So now it's, I don't like what you're wearing. I want you to wear something else. All your clothes are ugly. You don't need to wear that. Or that's not, if you're going to be with me, you can't dress like that. So now I'm slowly changing what you're wearing. Then it becomes, oh, well, I don't like your friends. I don't like that person. You don't need to be with them. So now now you're causing me to be isolated, and for those that cohabitate, now I'm living with you and it's just me and you, and I'm isolated from my family and I'm isolated from my friends, and it's just you. So you're the most important relationship in my life right now. And so now everything I do is about pleasing you. Everything I do is about pleasing you. And everything I do is about preserving this relationship, even though this relationship is not preserving me. This relationship is killing me. And so it becomes about that. And so you're allowing him. So now you've changed what I've worn. Now it's this. Okay, now I want to please you. Well, if you love me, you're going to please me. This is how narcissists act. And this is what they say to you. If you love me, you'll please me. In order to please me, this is what I need you to do. Yes, it's manipulation. When you talk about witchcraft, yeah, it is. If you love me, this is what I need you to do. This is what has to be done to please me. It'll begin with, wearing your hair a certain way. Then it would be, oh, I'm not being pleased sexually. And now we're talking in the context, of course, outside of Christianity. If you don't, for those, we don't believe in fornication, but the real deal is some Christians are fornicating. So I'm gonna just talk about it anyway. The real deal is this. So now, I'm not being pleased sexually. So now I need to bring someone else into bedroom. And that's not only for, single people that are fornicating, but even in a marriage, you have wives that are allowing their husbands. You have a lot of wives that are now allowing their husbands to have threesomes. And all of that is a part of narcissistic abuse. Now I'm going to allow you to bring someone into our bedroom. Why? Because you say that everything I do isn't right and I don't please you. And now you're not being pleased sexually. So now, even though I don't want to have a threesome, I have to now bring someone into the bedroom. And so now it goes from that to not only are we having them be in the bedroom, but now they're going to live with us. Now, and it's hard for you to understand. It's hard to understand if you've never been abused, but I'm talking about how people that are narcissists operate, verbal abuse, emotional blackmail. This includes, threats. If you don't do this, I'm not going to do that. And, we talked about the punishments. And so another thing is this, that's very, very, prevalent in those that are victims of narcissistic abuse: gaslighting. Gaslighting in a quick Cliff Note version is when someone causes you basically to question yourself and make you think that you're crazy. Where they intentionally make you distrust your own perceptions of reality and make you believe that you are mentally incompetent, and people can do this literally through lying to you. Someone can lie to you over and over and over again and cause you to be like, am I crazy? Have I lost my, am I crazy? No, let me tell you, I have had men lie to me to the point where it's so ridiculous. Someone FaceTimed me by mistake and told me that I didn't see them. And it was to the point where I was like, did I not see them? Am I tripping? I really started wondering, like, did I even get a FaceTime? Am I crazy? Because that's how that works. I'm telling you, like, y'all know I'm silly, but the truth of the matter is when someone is gaslighting you, it will cause you to be like, did I just see them? And it'll cause you to literally rewrite what happened in your mind. Well, I didn't see them. And now I'm questioning my sanity, questioning all of these different things. I'm talking about narcissistic abuse. And so, when you're dealing with that, it's hard to get out of it. I'm talking about for those that are, just getting on about why these girls are still there. He still has literally 2 young ladies, and, probably more that we don't even know of, but definitely 2 young ladies. I think one's name was Azriel and another's name is, what is her name? Jocelyn or something like that. But, yeah. And so, when you are under this, when you're dealing with someone that's gaslighting you and someone that is manipulating you and controlling your mind, and most of these girls are, a lot of these girls, I think Azriel, she has talent. So, another thing is this, and I just want to, of course, I always like to give you nuggets. You have to be careful. Ambition will cause you to make terrible mistakes. Ambition will cause you to it'll have you in stuff that you have no business being in. You have to really watch your ambition, because when you are too ambitious and when you are a go-getter, without any limits, it'll cause you to get in situations that are completely, I believe some of them, it doesn't even have anything to do with who R. Kelly is, but more so, what he has promised to do for you. I'm talking about even how, when I look at myself as I was a young lady and being, manipulated, and how it wasn't about the man. It was about the music. It was about, the opportunities. It was about all of those things that had a noose around my neck. Ambition can be a noose around your neck. And so you have to check yourself and, be clear on your, am I pursuing kingdom? And in their case, of course, they're not pursuing kingdom. But even if you're not even saved, you have to watch your ambition, because it'll put you in bad places. And so that's another thing. But most importantly, now they're saying R. Kelly, I'm also reading stupid comments. And you guys know I don't know how to be anything but real. I'm reading stupid comments like, R. Kelly, he is a soul too, and, I'm not going to speak bad about him. Well, first and foremost, stop it. Yes, R. Kelly is a soul. Of course he is a soul. And I don't have an issue with him. I have an issue with his behavior and what he's done. Now, yes, he's a soul. And if I saw him tomorrow, I would pray for him. You don't hate the person, but you hate what they're doing. And you speak out against what they're doing. And it doesn't mean that, you're not a Christian. It don't mean that you don't have mercy. It doesn't mean any of that other stuff. God is a God of justice. Now, God is a God of justice. And we can't, you can't, you have he has given incurable diseases to women, woman after woman after woman. One of the girls almost died from mono. What are you saying? She almost died. She was in the hospital for 2.5 weeks with mono that escalated into something else. She almost died. And R. Kelly sends her mother $1,000. What? First of all, $1,000 ain't even paying my rent. That's disrespectful. Second of all, no, absolutely not. And the next thing I want to say is this. You have people saying, I'm sick of R. Kelly. Let's move on. Let's move on. Let's move on. I'm sick of R. Kelly. What about the government shutdown? First and foremost, the government being shut down has nothing to do with R. Kelly abusing women, giving incurable diseases, all of these other things. Those are two separate topics. And it is disrespectful to downplay one issue by bringing up another issue. All of the issues at hand are atrocities. You know what it's similar to? It's similar to you saying, and I'm sure most of my audience is African American. It's similar to when people say all lives matter when we're talking about Black Lives Matter. It's the same level of disrespect. Nobody wants to hear about all lives matter or blue lives matter when it's Black lives that are being targeted. And it's the same principle. Nobody wants to hear about the daggone government shut down when we're discussing women being abused. Black girls matter. That's the issue at hand. Black girls matter. Spanish girls matter. He ain't do it to no white girls. But Black girls and minority women matter. That is the issue at hand. Not the government being shut down. Of course, the government being shut down is wrong. But that's not what we're talking about. They're both atrocities. But we're not going to take the focus from what happened, a legitimate thing, and let me help somebody else. This ain't his past. This is his present. He still has women under mind control. This is not his past. Forgetting those things that are behind me. This is not behind me. This is next to me. This is still going on. And it's continuing to be perpetuated over and over and over again. And you know why he's not in jail? Because them girls aren't white. He's not in jail right now because those girls are brown and Black. That's why. And so, if you have, first of all, if you have not watched the docuseries, shut up. I want to say that respectfully, shut up. If you haven't watched the docuseries, shut your mouth and don't speak on it. I know we're itching to talk about stuff, but if you have not watched those girls crying, telling them their stories about living with incurable diseases, about, being mesmerized by him being R. Kelly at 17 years old and then being under mind control and being beat by him physically. If you have not watched and heard, be quiet. Don't be all of this ignorance. Just resist the urge to speak on what you don't know about. And of course, you got other people saying, oh, it's just hearsay. No, you have Sparkle You have Sparkle, who worked with R. Kelly, whose niece was the 14-year-old girl whose mouth was peed in. She looked at the video and said, this is my niece. This is my niece that my partner is peeing on. And because of the dollar, the power of the dollar, this girl's parents got in court and said, that's not our child. That's not our child. Now, her best friend got up in court and said, this is her on the tape, and starts crying. Her basketball coach gets up in court and says, this is her. Her aunt gets up and says, this is her. And then her parents say, it's not her. And then her father continues to play the bass on his albums. I can't. There were parts on the documentary where I literally was crying. I was literally crying for these women because I know. I've never gone through the exact thing that they've gone through, but I've gone through, if you've ever been abused, have you ever been under any level of abuse, you can see pieces of yourself in the stories of these girls. And this is why I tell you, if you have been abused, do not watch the documentary because it will trigger you. You also have to be very careful and alert and sober and vigilant, to the tactics of the enemy. If you have been a survivor of any level of abuse, do not watch it because it's going to take you back to a place you've been delivered from. It's going to take you back to a place you've been delivered from. It's going to trigger you and bring up emotions that God has already freed you from. So do not watch it if you have been abused. Now, of course, my degree's in psychology. I have to watch it. But you definitely, you just want to, those that are saying he's not guilty, he is guilty. There were too many people that said it's the girl, including her aunt. And you know what? And let me just help the other part of ignorance, where people are saying, oh, it's, these girls are just trying to extort him. R. Kelly's house was foreclosed on last year. He ain't got no money. They don't got nothing to extort. The girl who said she tried to take him to court for the herpes said he broke. So they don't even have nothing to gain. If you've ever been abused, you don't need to you just want to tell your story. And you pray that, you pray that it doesn't, that the exposing of it saves some other girls from going through it. And you know what? Here is the major issue. Here is a major issue that I have with us as the Black community. The issue that I'm having right now is we love the product so much, we're willing to stomach the person. And this is where it becomes disgusting. I don't care how much I enjoy his musical style. I don't care how much I enjoy his musical genius. The fact of the matter is that man is a predator. He's a predator. He's a predator. So because I know that you are a sexual predator and that a lot of these songs, first of all, you're writing for Aaliyah, age ain't nothing but a number, throwing down ain't nothing but a thing. You're talking about having sex with a minor in this song. I don't see nothing wrong with a little bump and grind. You're talking about kids. Why? Because she's under 17, you don't see nothing wrong with, she's 14, you don't see nothing wrong with a little bump and grind. The Greatest Sex I Ever Had, TP2. Come on. All of the albums. You're talking about kids. How can you, you know, how can you stomach listening to this? And then you got other people. I'm just touching on all the stupid stuff I done read and unfollowed people for today. You know, yeah, my mind's telling me no, but my body's telling me yes. My mind is telling me I'm gonna go to jail, but my body is saying I gotta get in that. Yeah, that's what's happening. He's telling you everything in his music. And so for you to I read online his sales went up after his accusers came forth and said that he did all of these disgusting things to them. His sales went up. His album sales went up. We are sick if we are causing his album sales to go up. This could be your daughter, your cousin, your sister. Like, I'm just saying. And I'm not mad. Y'all got to understand. I'm not mad at R. Kelly. R. Kelly is a product of his environment. He's a product of his environment. R. Kelly was molested. If his brother is telling the truth on the docuseries, R. Kelly was molested by his sister when he was, I think, like 6 years old. And she was like 20. She was molesting them. So, and even if they are going back to see clues in his music, you ain't got to buy it. Go to YouTube. Why he say you don't got to buy the song? Go to YouTube and listen if you listening for clues. Why would you buy? He called himself Pied Piper. Y'all know who Pied Piper is? If I'm correct in my understanding, I believe that Pied Piper used to do a service for the community. I think there was like a rat infestation. He's a character I think there was a rat infestation, and he would do a service. He would lure the rats out. He would do a service to lure the rats out. And if he wasn't paid, he would then lure their children. That right there. He's calling himself Pied Piper, someone who lured children. He's telling you. But you know what? Narcissists are bold. They'll do it in your face and say, check me. They'll tell you who they are. They do it in church all the time. They get up in the pulpit. They preach about exactly what they're doing, how they're sleeping with people in the audience, how they have all of these sexual vices, etc. And they tell you right from the pulpit. It'd be like, and check me. His grace is sufficient. Check me. Y'all better wake up. Y'all better wake up. Y'all better wake up. Now, you know, I don't blame the victims. Let me tell you something about power. This is not just a b-boy. This is not just, somebody, around the way. This is someone in a seat of power. A lot of people are intimidated by power. We won't even get to children. People are intimidated by power. People become starstruck. When someone is in a seat of power and they are hot and they are the in person, a lot of times you can fall into the hype of who they are and end up in a mess. You can fall into the hype of who they are and end up in a mess. Or you can be intimidated to say no to what you need to say no to because they are so powerful. One of the girls said, I didn't want to have sex with him, but who says no to R. Kelly? You know, and it's the same thing with these leaders and etc. You know, this is so-and-so, who says no to them? And they end up intimidated because they are a pastor, because they are a preacher, because they are in a seat of power. And they become intimidated and they allow themselves to be taken advantage of. You know, power, no, someone being starstruck is not abuse. No. And I'm glad you said that. Let me say this. Someone being starstruck is not abuse. But when you have a 17-year-old girl that is not only starstruck, at the time, I think R. Kelly was like in his late 20s, 29 or whatever. You have someone in their late 20s using their power, you know, preying on weak women. And you know that the women are not, there are some people that are mouthy and they just gonna say what they're gonna say regardless of who you are. And then there are other people that are soft-spoken and can't really speak up for themselves. You know, like, okay, the Hispanic girl, she said that she went over to the studio. He said he met her at the mall. She's starstruck. Met her at the mall, was like, I want you to come to the studio. She said that she could sing. He starts playing the piano, singing something. She's singing it as well, you know, and he's like joining. So she starts singing it too. And then all of a sudden he starts kissing her. And, you know, she went along with it. Right. Her friend told her to go. I'm sure people are like, it's R. Kelly, go. And so it goes from there. You know, when people use their stardom the wrong way or their quote unquote power, it can be used as a form of manipulation. It can be used in a manipulative way. If you know that I'm starstruck and that I'm, you know, and I got to put my charger on before I lose you guys. I'm starstruck and you're older than me. Sometimes that's used to influence the person's decisions. And so, you know, it's hard to tell people no when they're in a place of power. You know you shouldn't be doing something, but you just don't have the, you know, you don't have the confidence. That's the word. A lot of people don't have confidence. Confidence will cause you to let things slide when they shouldn't slide. Confidence will have you not speaking up for yourself. Lack of confidence will have you not speaking up for yourself. Lack of confidence will have you engaging in things that you don't even want to do and being intimidated by people in power, you know, and allowing them to dominate you. And so there are some women and men too that do not have confidence. And so if you do not have confidence, for those that have that, and I see a few questions, you can go back to the top, but what's making the women stay is, I said it in the beginning, and you could just watch the replay. But confidence is, a lack of confidence is what causes, you know, people to allow things to slide. So I said this to say, and I do probably need to go to bed because we got prayer in the morning. But I did want to just get on here and say, stop blaming the victim. I know you all love R. Kelly. I know the Black community love R. Kelly. He's a musical genius. Why wouldn't you love him? But the fact of the matter is this, you know, he has destroyed a lot of lives. We can't we can't let Bill Cosby go to jail and R. Kelly not go to jail. I'm just saying, you know, and for me personally, and I know some people will differ from my opinion, I don't even think he needs to go to jail. In my opinion, I think he needs to go to a mental health institution. If he does go to jail, I think it needs to be for the cruelty that he's bestowed upon those women, making them pee in buckets, beating them physically, you know, doing all of those different things. If he does go to jail, it needs to be for assault and all of those different things, the cruelty. But I think most importantly, he needs to go to a mental health institution. I watched a clip on social media of him talking about how he asked his mother to marry him. That he was, as a child, he was in love with his mother. He said he used to put his lips the same place where her lipstick was from her drinking her coffee, that he was madly in love with her because of her artistic abilities and asked her to marry him. Something was wrong there. Something was wrong right there. He needs help. He needs help. But the reason I say that we can't let it slide is because he still has women under mind control. You can go on Instagram, it's floating all around. He still has young ladies that is under mind control. Even the girl Jocelyn, where she got on TMZ and said she's not being held captive or whatever, she started to say something, and you saw in the reflection of her shirt right here, someone going like this. So they're telling her what to say. Other people said that R. Kelly's camp threatened the girls, telling them that if you say anything, we're going to kill your family and we're going to do this and that. Only they know why they've stayed so long, etc. So I'm saying, I know y'all don't want to cancel R. Kelly, but he needs to be canceled. He needs to be canceled, and he needs to go get some help. You know, and most importantly, we have to stop being gullible. You know, in every aspect, just because somebody's product is good, just because somebody's product is good, just because somebody's product is good doesn't mean that you get to just keep the product, you know, regardless of, you know, people are saying I separate the man from the music. You can't separate the man from the music. There's no way. There's no way. And even some of these comments, listen, life will keep you. If you live long enough, you won't be judgmental. I can always tell who has never been through anything. People who have never been through anything. People who have never gone through life, because of the way they judge people and because of the way they talk about people and talk about their decisions. When people talk about these young ladies, well, at 17, they knew what they were doing, and don't show any compassion. The only person who knows their story is them. And again, if you are not educated in the area of psychology, if you are not a therapist, you don't understand. And if you are not a victim, you don't understand. And that is okay. I pray that you never become a victim of it. You know, troubled teen, etc. I have girls I grew up with. I watched, you know, certain stories I can't tell, but I watched older men manipulate the minds of young girls that I grew up with. And them have children by him, etc., and just end up in a mess. One mess, it's like a run in your stockings. It starts small, and then it just expands and expands and expands, and it becomes a whole mess. And so you can say what you think you would or wouldn't do at 17, but you don't know what you would do at 17 with a celebrity in your face, with someone in power in your face, you using their power, selling you dreams, telling the girls that they can do this and that for you. And you don't even know if they have a support system at home. You don't know. And you got to be careful. You have to be careful of how you judge people, because you'll find yourself in a situation doing stuff that you don't think that you would ever do, and needing someone to have compassion on you. So be careful. We don't hate R. Kelly, but we do hate what he's done. And we need him to get help. We need him to get help. And we need him, most importantly, to release the rest of the women that he has. So that's my 2 cents, And I'm telling you, if you follow me, if you're friends with me and you're writing something stupid on Facebook or Instagram, I'm unfollowing you. I don't have the patience for it. This is something that I'm very passionate about. Something that I'm very passionate about. And I think that if you are a Christian, you should have a level of compassion for the victims. You can't have more compassion on the villain than you have on the victims. It's insane. How do you have more compassion for the villain than the victim? And the thing about it is this, R. Kelly is a victim too, but in this discussion, he is also the villain. And he has destroyed a lot of lives. So we need to pray for the girls, pray that the Lord, make a way, do something, even if he has to go to jail, so that the rest of the women that's under his spell and his witchcraft and everything else that he's doing, can be released. However it has to happen. But let's not be ignorant and callous. Let's, choose our words on social media. All right. I'm going to bed because I got prayer in the morning. Prayer is at 6 a.m. Facebook Live every week, every Tuesday. Good night.